how important it is to develop that moral compass early and use it not just often, but in every decision that they're making to make sure that they're getting things right in their classes, and more importantly, in their lives.
Hello, and welcome to The Perch, where we highlight authentic voices, expert insights, and meaningful conversation. The Perch brings the Kincaid School's mission to life through stories of education, leadership, and community. Let's get started. Welcome back to The Perch, my friends. I'm Mike Maury, and today marks the kickoff of the third season of the Perch podcast. And I have to tell you, we are starting off with a bang. Joining us today is Dr. Ed Harris, our new Kincaid head of school. Dr. Harris, welcome to the Perch podcast.
Great to be back with you. Thank you.
Equally as exciting is the privilege of welcoming our new associate head of school to the Perch. That is Mr. Peter Baer. Peter, welcome to the Perch.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Dr. Harris, you shared with the faculty and staff that it has been a full throttle summer for you as the new head of school. And we will certainly dive into a little bit of your journey here at Kincaid and your outlook for the future. But let's start with a short peek at how you arrived here. If you can, give our listeners a little taste of maybe where your career started, some things you did before you moved into education, and before you assumed the captain's chair here as the new head of school at Kincaid. And by the way, you have 2 minutes to do that. Ready? Go.
Thanks for the opportunity. My route appears to be rather circuitous and disjointed, but it actually is a smooth, straight line of 3 careers. I started out planning on being in education, but at the college level, and earned a PhD, was teaching at the college level, and then decided I needed a law degree to continue my academic pursuits. Got a law degree, then decided I needed to practice law to increase my insights into the legal profession and into constitutional theory, which I was really most interested in. And I went to work with a law firm and ended up having an almost 20-year career practicing law. And then finally got back into education after that legal career, which is where I thought I was going to end up in the beginning. The interesting thing is how I ended up at Kincaid, because when my family and I relocated to Houston in 2005, I was just finishing up my law career and was anticipating getting back into teaching, and ended up in a position at the University of St. Thomas, teaching in their philosophy department and business school. My children ended up at Kincaid, and I followed them to Kincaid when there was an opening in the history department, specifically to teach government. And the then head of school, Don North, approached me about filling that position.
I'm glad the path led you here. We're glad to have you, for sure. I'm going to jump over, if I can, to Mr. Baer. Maybe same question, just a stop or two you may have made before you got to Kincaid, and a little bit about how you progressed in your time here at Kincaid.
Yeah, of course. So I began my career in education actually as a marine biologist, and spent my time working with undergraduate and graduate students and teaching them how to do research. Most of it was biological research out in the field. And so it was very hands-on, very appropriate to what they were doing. And I caught the bug and was very interested in how schools worked over time and figuring out how the best way of running programs or building new programs or inspiring kids. And so that drove me into administration over time. And I've been lucky enough to be at a number of great schools and have had a great opportunity to learn about all sorts of different ways of running a school and making a school better. And that's really my passion now.
Well, thanks, Mr. Baer. So you and Dr. Harris have worked together here, if it's okay to say, for quite a while. Is that right?
Yes, Dr. Harris and I have worked together ever since I came to Kincaid. He's was a wonderful history and social sciences department chair, and worked with the committee to build and design the Center for Leadership, Entrepreneurship, and Finance. And as I think many know now, was a wonderful director of that program until this new position that he's in. And it's been a pleasure to work with him all that time, and really excited to see what's next as he's our new head of school.
And it's been a pleasure working with Mr. Bear as we have developed programs and classes and activities for students, all in the project of promoting and realizing Kincaid's excellence in education. And that's what it's all about. And the fact that we have been so in sync with each other and single-minded in that goal of focusing on the students in everything that we have done. And that's what makes this such an exciting time for us to be working together as we look at the future of Kincaid.
I'm glad you mentioned the future, and it does inspire the Kincaid community to hear that you two have been aligned and are definitely aligned now with where we are headed. So, Dr. Harris, you mentioned excellence in education and thinking about the future. Could you expand a little bit more? I think our listeners would love to hear what you have planned and what you foresee Kincaid becoming in the coming years.
Absolutely. Excellence in education and balanced growth are the mission of the school for each and every student. And we achieve those by providing students with a safe environment in which each one of them feels that they belong. And in order to achieve a safe and inclusive environment, we simply have to realize each one of us, faculty, students, families, every member in our community, has to realize in their lives the 4 core values of Kincaid. And especially when we focus on kindness and respect to each other in all of our actions, we can build that community that makes everyone feel safe, makes everyone feel that they belong. And that is the culture of Kincaid. That's what it's all about. And our vision for this year is to focus in on the core values generally, but specifically kindness and respect, and building that sense of safe, inclusive belonging for everyone. And then we're in a position to provide the educational excellence in literally everything that we do, where every student can take advantage of that, feel it, live it, make it a part of their lives.
So well said.
And I'd add, what inspires me about Kincaid as well is not only is our mission pretty aspirational for our students and for their development, academically, also socially. I find that the school itself is aspirational in its stance and how we are constantly looking for better ways of engaging students, for teaching students, for building belonging. That's always been an exciting part of my role at Kincaid, is that aspirational nature. We are not done, and we're always developing, and we're always striving. And I find that to be inspiring.
Our community will be hearing a lot this coming year from us about culture and belonging. And that culture that we're talking about is our core values. And that belonging is what each and every member of the Kincaid community needs to feel for us to succeed in our mission.
So I love what you just said. How do arts, academics, and athletics fit into that vision?
Yeah, let's take a step back and think about the mission of the school, which is educational excellence and balanced growth. And that's the balanced growth part that brings in all 3 of the A's: academics, athletics, and the arts. Not that one has to be excellent at the same time in all 3. That's not a standard that we're holding out for anyone. The standard that we're holding out is a balance in growth in all different areas of one's life so that one can realize their full potential and experience all aspects of opportunity that Kincaid affords them. And that's the plus of Kincaid, that we do afford everyone those opportunities in these areas to experience all they want to and can experience.
Yes, and as everyone's an individual, they all have different aspects of how they approach those three areas, and everyone approaches them differently, and they do a great job upon graduation, really demonstrating their own balance and excellence during their time at Kincaid.
When I think back to our podcast episodes from last year, and we had student leaders on in the arts and from athletics and academic standouts, it's interesting because they reinforce in their messaging on the podcast what you just said. They do talk about their successes on the field, in the theater, in the class. But then when we ask them, how did you get there? They start to talk about the baseline of core values. Dr. Harris, I'd like to ask about an idea that you speak of quite a bit here at Kincaid, and that is a moral compass. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What does a moral compass mean, and how has that played out in your life?
Everything we do is a result of decisions that we make, and that decision process is ultimately guided by the compass that we use. And it's so important to recognize that that compass is grounded in the moral system that we have. And that comes from what we learn at home, what we learn from those closest to us, from the organizations that we participate in, our churches, our synagogues, our mosques, wherever we are, we get that basic foundation. Kincaid adds to that basic foundation in providing strength, stability to that moral compass. For me, that moral compass has been a guide in my professional life and in all parts of my careers, in education, in the law, and now back in education. As an attorney, of course, in dealing with corporations and dealing in commercial situations, that moral compass was absolutely vital to me. But I also had the opportunity while I was practicing law to develop my own personal moral compass further and act on it as I took on pro bono cases, albeit working in big law, big firm, corporate setting. But the firm's commitment to a public service allowed me to represent many individuals who couldn't on their own afford the cost of defending themselves or bringing cases in their own interest against the government to secure their constitutional rights. And that was just profoundly important for me to be able to be a part of that process and represent them in important cases that ultimately affected them in such a real way, but also shaped the law of the country.
What a perfect transition to our closing. I'd like to ask you, can you take that conversation and now bring it to Kincaid? How does that same thinking in your approach to a moral compass apply here for educational excellence at Kincaid?
Again, in making decisions every day, whether it's in the classroom or in an administrative position, one has to be guided by something. And it better be by a sound moral compass for those decisions to be right, because that's what we're all about. We are about making sound, deliberate, rational decisions that are grounded in a sound basis of ethics. And so for me, whether I'm in the courtroom, in negotiation, commercial negotiation, whether I'm in front of a class of students, whether I'm meeting with the administrative team, I want to get it right. I want to do it right. And when I tell somebody why I'm doing something, I'm going to have an explanation that they're going to be able to understand. They may not agree with it, but they're going to understand it. And I'm going to explain why, from my perspective, using my moral compass, this is the right decision that I'm making. And then we can have a conversation about it. That's what I'm all about. And that's what I've tried to show for the last 20 years, my students in the classroom, how important it is to develop that moral compass early and use it not just often, but in every decision that they're making, to make sure that they're getting things right in their classes, and more importantly, in their lives.
And Dr. Harris, I would say, as a father of 2 graduates from Kincaid, and I know you've had graduates of Kincaid as well, that we can see that moral compass and that moral development from their time here at Kincaid, and we couldn't be, that's probably the biggest gift that we've received. Apart from the great education, the great experience in athletics, the great experience in the arts, great leadership experiences, that moral compass we can see in our children when they've graduated.
Well, folks, if you had any questions about the leadership team, the vision, and the future of Kincaid, I think Dr. Harris and Mr. Baer just gave us a great overview. Dr. Harris, thank you so much for joining us on the season premiere of The Perch.
Always a pleasure.
Mr. Baer, appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So that's a wrap for our season 3 premiere of the Perch podcast. We will return again in 2 weeks with new conversations and stories about education, leadership, and community. Be sure to follow the Kincaid School on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can always find The Perch on YouTube, our website, and the Spotify podcast platform. Thanks again for joining us on The Perch.